with a little. This is going to be boot camp for class war. Thank you, Eric. What an introduction. And let's give a big up for Eric and for Ed Garvey and the whole gang that put together Fighting Bob. And thank you, And I got to get out here a bit quick because some of you may have read the notes on the internet. Unfortunately, it's true. Yes, myself and my producer who's here today, Matt Pascarella, are facing criminal charges by the Department of Homeland Security. I'm sure you all feel safer now. But here's the thing, is we were really scared that we couldn't get on the plane. Because we are not kidding, we have criminal charges against us from Homeland Security Department. And we were afraid we couldn't get on the plane to Madison yesterday. We got here, but what is scarier is that we could get on the plane. Think about that. These guys are supposed to be looking for Osama. They couldn't find Greg Palast. Once again, shh, I'm not here. It's the hat. They couldn't recognize me. I have to keep it on in case there is. I'll tell you about, actually I do want to tell you about that while I'm allowed to, before they measure me for the orange suit. We're not kidding. Okay, but I want to show you this first. You see these are CNN's balls? Do you see these? For those of you who don't know, I do investigative reporting for BBC television and for Democracy Now! Investigative reporting, is I guess it's illegal under Patriot Act 3 or something. But anyway, but this is how CNN does it. These balls are the exit polls from November 2004. 1 a.m. the night after, or the early morning after the voting in Ohio. And it says here that John Kerry won by 51% of the vote versus 49% for Bush for males. But among females, John Kerry won 53 to 47%. Okay, class. What's the third sex that put George over the top? Well, the answer is called the disappeared. See, in Ohio, there were more than 133,212 votes, ballots cast, which were never counted. Cast, not counted. Okay? Now, about half those ballots, I mean, what is that about? About half those ballots are spoiled. They're called spoiled ballots. Now, how do ballots spoil? They leave them out of the fridge, or what happens? I want to investigate. BBC sent me to investigate, and the answer was, okay, that's punch cards that you didn't punch correctly, or touch screen machines that just don't feel you know how to touch them anymore. Hanging chads, stuff like that. Now the question is, so if it's glitches and glitches. Glitches happen, 2, 3, 4% of the vote, it happens. But who gets glitched? Whose vote's spoiled? Well, I went into the electoral dumpster and I made a pile of spoiled votes from the white precincts. And then I made a pile, got a ladder, made a pile of the votes spoiled in the black precincts. And there in our madhouse, you'll see it too, your chance that your vote will spoil, be eaten by a machine, not counted, is 900% higher if you're black than if you're a white voter, 500% higher if you're a Hispanic voter, 2,000% higher if you are a Native American voter than if you're a paleface. Now, I wanted to check that one out because it makes a difference. See, we talk about Ohio, and Florida, right? I flew to New Mexico, where George Bush won, we're told, by 5,998 votes. Not counting 34,000 ballots never counted. Cast never counted. Okay, 6 times the Bush. Random? No. 88% came from minority precincts, substantially Native American precincts, where all over New Mexico, Arizona, Colorado, on Native reservations, there were precincts where 9 out of 10 natives didn't choose a president of the United States. Okay? I didn't say that they didn't go in to vote. I mean that they took their pickups, went to the polling places, walked in, looked at the ballots, looked at the voting machine, and said, forget it. Went home. That's what the machine said. Okay, so I went to Taos Precinct 13, which is the Taos Pueblo, and talked to a guy whose title is the War Chief. And I said, okay, Chief, you Injuns can't make up your mind? See, because I talked to a state official, the Secretary of State of New Mexico, who said, I said, how could you have all these voters and ballots with no choice for president? He said, well, you know, certain people just can't make up their minds. So I asked the War Chief, you Injuns can't make up your minds? He said, listen, white boy. Actually, he didn't. He's a very nice guy. He said, Mr. Palast, we can pick a president, but we don't pick the machines. Okay? We don't give Native Americans blankets with smallpox anymore. We just give them machines that forget they're there. Now, that's half the power. So I took you to Ohio and I took you to New Mexico. Okay? What you haven't been told is 3.6 million votes cast and not counted in the United States. It's not Ohio, it's not Florida, it's not New Mexico. Okay? And whose votes don't get counted? That 88% number, 88% of those votes cast, not counted, are cast by voters of color. 88%, okay, of 3.6 million votes. You add up the numbers, and I'll tell you what we reported in the Observer, where I used to have George Orwell's old column in Britain. Wrote a report called Kerry Won in November. Now, the New York Times, they ran that story too, remember? No. But they did call me. The New York Times called me and said, you know, we want to investigate what happened in the presidential election in 2004. We saw your story, Kerry won. And that was also, by the way, put on the top of the BBC Nightly News where I report, and though I had to explain that Kerry then does get inaugurated, peculiar American ritual. And so the Times reporter says, so we want to write about your story, Kerry won. And I said, great, you want to look at my files? You know, I'm happy to help you with your investigation. No, I said, no, we got a couple questions for you. Question 1, are you a sore loser? And question 2, are you a conspiracy nut? Question 3, there was no question 3. Now, but the New York Times did publish their investigation the very next day on page 1. It said, internet theories of Bush loss spread by blogs, easily debunked.